If you haven't figured it out by now, my oil pan gasket is leaking. So in today's video, we're going to fix it. Okay, so I'm going to make this kind of like a how-to video of how to do the oil pan gasket. But I've never done this before, so we're going to see how that goes. So I'm going to start with a clean oil drain pan, and we're going to drain out all of the oil. Alright, now that our oil is mostly drained out, we can reinstall our drain plug. Alright, so next we're going to be removing the engine motor mount, and it's an 18mm nut. We're just going to unscrew them. Okay, this part could be different for you, but next I'm gonna unbolt my exhaust manifolds, and they are also an 18mm. I'm gonna remove a spark plug so that I can get my ratchet strap around the exhaust manifold. It's a little rich. Take this end and go through. There. That should be plenty strong to lift the engine up a little bit. Alright, we're going to do the same thing to this side. Take a spark plug out. See if we can fit a ratchet strap through the exhaust manifold. This one doesn't look terrible. I think the engine's running a little rich though. Okay, I'm going to take this loose end and feed it through. Hopefully. Okay. And then take this, go through here. And pull it tight. We are going to need an engine lift. Alright, so once you get this big contraption put together, in theory you should be able to pick up the engine a little bit. It's working. Let's keep going and see what happens. That was too far. I think their return line came off the power steering. Oh well. Once you clean up your mess, then we can move on to pulling this oil pan off, because I think we have enough clearance now. So all of these little bolts on the sides are 3/8 of an inch. And I'm using a swivel with an extension on my impact to get them all off. Right in here in the corners, there's a 1/2 inch bolt on either side. Alright, we're on the front end now, and I was able to get all but the front 4 bolts out, but there's plenty of room to get it in the front here. Okay, so these motor mounts are kind of hooked over the edge of this oil pan and are stopping it from coming out. So I'm gonna have to remove the motor mounts next. Okay, that motor mount bolt is a 5/8 inch socket. Okay, so I took the driver's side motor mount out, and now I have enough clearance to let this fall on my face. Chances are this exhaust system's going to be in my way, which is a problem. So this part of the exhaust system's in my way, and rather than try to undo the whole exhaust system because it's all fully welded, I'm just gonna cut it somewhere right here and then re-weld it on later. Okay, so a trick you can do when you're cutting a pipe is wrap a piece of tape around it, so that way you can get a straight cut. In theory. Okay, I think I'm gonna have to lift the engine up even farther. So let's see if we can do that without causing any more damage. Okay, so you have to remove the oil pump. There's a bolt on either side, and then there's a nut that attaches the pickup tube to the underside to a cap bearing bolt, so you gotta remove that also. Here's the bolt that, the nut that holds on the pickup tube, so we gotta take that off next. Okay, and that is supposed to stay in the engine. That's not good. That's supposed to hold that in the engine, so that's a problem. Finally got the oil pan out, so that's the great news. It's in one piece. So what I did, I loosened up my cross member mount. This is a custom manual transmission swap truck. It was originally automatic, and I modified the automatic cross member. I unbolted it and wedged the handle of a 1/2 inch ratchet in the mount, and that was able to give me enough clearance to pull the oil pan out. So that's great. Well, it is just really that simple. That only took me 3 hours. Now's a good time to scrub down the oil pan with soap and water. Get it good and cleaned up. Alrighty, it's a new day, and we got some parts to get this engine wrapped up. Oil, zinc additive, filter, and I'm going to use this red and tacky grease to hold my oil pump drive shaft up while I get it installed. Alright, so for some reason or another, I didn't put a gasket on the oil pump to the block. So it's one of these two gaskets, and then it'll be nice and sealed up. So this is the correct gasket, and it'll go right there. So I'm going to take some of this grease right here, just lather it up a little bit, and then it shouldn't go anywhere when I go to install it. And a little grease in the engine isn't going to hurt it at all. There we go. Sure your gasket's facing the right direction. Okay. Okay, I got it out. Okay, so I kind of stopped filming for a couple of hours because I was struggling. I couldn't get my oil pump drive shaft back in from the bottom. So what I ended up doing was taking the distributor out and then putting the drive shaft in the distributor. And I put some tape around the edges so that it would kind of hold itself in there, and I was able to put it back in and get it put in the oil pump. And then I was able to wiggle the oil pan on and go around and tighten all of the bolts and get this motor mount put back on. So now what I'm going to do is drop the engine back down, button up the top end, and then I'm going to put some fresh oil in it and then get the exhaust welded back on. Alright, so here's a distributor. I pulled that out and pulled this air pipe off, the intake manifold piping off. I had to pull my throttle cable off, and I was able to get the distributor completely upright. And I'm gonna have to set the timing. What I did for the initial startup is I unplugged the trigger from the key to the solenoid, and I put a screwdriver in between these, and I bumped the engine over while holding my finger over the cylinder number 1 port, and then when I could feel compression on there, I stopped, and then I dropped the distributor in, and making sure that the rotor is facing the number 1 cylinder, and then that will give you a rough timing setup, and then I'm gonna have to come back with my timing light and physically measure and adjust the distributor. Okay, here's where I'm at. I've got the engine lowered down, all the spark plugs back in it, trigger wire reconnected. I've got 5 quarts of 15W40 oil in it. I think I have everything put back together. I did fix the line on the power steering pump and refill that with ATF. So I should be ready to fire it up, assuming that the timing is even correct. So let's give it a shot. That was not good. Gonna try again. Let's try this again. I think my timing's off. I'm gonna unplug the coil and turn the fuel off and just try to prime the engine is what I think I'm gonna try and do. Okay, I have adjusted the timing correctly now this time, I think. So let's see if it fires up. I think it's firing too late, so the internet says to rotate it clockwise to advance it. So let's see if that fixed it. No. Let me try the other way. That wasn't it. Let's give that a go. Okay, let's try this. Alright, so I've got the truck all back together. I got the timing adjusted correctly. My firing order was off because I was spinning my rotor while I took my distributor out and I did not mark where cylinder number 1 was. It doesn't seem to be leaking at all, so I'm going to call that fixed.